All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And in today's video, we are going to go through the forums. I did a video on the state of ESO in general last week, and it's gotten a lot of reactions, got a lot of views, and I can always kind of tell when one of my videos hits the forums because of specific types of comments that I get that are just kind of, where people don't really watch the video and they just comment like it. My point is like, I know what my audience is and I'm used to like a certain type of reaction. And so if I get some like bonkers crazy thing and then I get it followed up by a few more, it's like, okay, well, here we're on the forums, right? And so I went and looked, and sure enough, I was tagged multiple times in a few forum posts, and people were asking about the ESO hardware update. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, an uneventful thing happened back in January where one of the lead developers decided to stop streaming, and it was completely uneventful. Nobody will remember anything that happened at that point in time. But okay. Matt Firor decided to do this post. Now, I'm not going to cover I'm going to read through it. We're not going to go into detail because I've already covered this video back in January. This is a January 12th video, a January 12th article, and I wanted to read through it and tell you where it's at and the updates that we have gotten. And so, yeah, that's what this video is. So he writes, it's long past time to give everyone an update on where we are with PvP improvements. As many of you know, we did a series of tests over the last year to give us more data. These tests were successful and gave us the information we needed. We now have a plan going forward, but heads up, it is going to take some time. In short, just like we did for the client a year or so back when we introduced multi-thread rendering to increase client frame rates, we are going to re-architect our server. The version of ESO in 2022 is many magnitudes larger and more complex than the ESO that launched in 2014. So in order to give everyone a good play experience in high-intensity situations like PvP and trials, we need to essentially rewrite some of the foundational server code to account for it. This should dramatically increase server performance, but obviously we will need to test and evaluate as we go along. We've been planning this for the last quarter and we started working on it right now, but as you can imagine, changing the fundamentals of a huge live game such as ESO is a delicate and multi-step process, so expect this to take up much of 22. So in January, they said that this entire process will take up much of 2022, meaning it's not going to take up all of 2022. It's like expected. I read this and interpreted this as fall, winter, probably winter. Expect this to be done. Much of the early work is going to happen behind the scenes, and we are definitely not going to rush it. Completely understandable. A re-architecture of this magnitude will require the entire game to be retested and reevaluated, as this particular code is the foundation on which the game is built. It will take tons of QA and testing time as well, and I'm sure that when the time comes, we'll do as large a test as we can on the PTS. In the meantime, we'll consider additional ways to keep Cyrodiil and Battlegrounds interesting and exciting. For example, potential special rule sets or weekend events. We all know how the Battleground weekend events did. They just decided to say, hey, you get a little bit more experience or you get a little bit more AP and you get locked into the same boring game modes. So that's what they provided, which is too bad. The idea is there, the execution was not. And we'll continue to work on bug fixes affecting combat. But we won't be adding any new features to PvP until the work mentioned above is complete. Doing so would not only prolong the fixes we want to implement, but would also exacerbate the issue of poor performance. We all agree with this. ESO PvP hasn't gotten an update since 2019. We've all been talking about this. So everybody's in agreement so far. We completely understand the frustration many of you are feeling, especially with the lack of information about our PvP plans. This was a huge decision to make, and we needed to make sure we had exhausted all other possibilities before announcing this. Thanks for bearing with us, and we will give you periodic updates about the re-architecture progress over the course of the year. Now, it is currently 11/20. It is 11 months later, 11 months in, from January to November. We have gotten no updates. No updates from the community or from the developers about this. And so people started they started asking like, hey, what's going on with these server updates? What's going on? And so I see React tagged me in a post and they go through, and this is from November 17th. And so the entire post is, how is the code re-architecture going? They're looking for information. Sauce Kevin says, hi, I did answer this in another thread a few weeks ago. So we got an update early November, early October, sorry. So it's been 10 months. but I'll answer here as well. We don't have any updates to share at the moment regarding the ReArchitecture. So 10 months. 10 months with periodic updates, but no updates. However, when the team has more concrete info to share, we will. As you may know, this is a delicate process that takes time to make sure we get this right. So while we don't have any updates now, we hope to share more in the future, but we are passing on that players are asking for updates around the ReArchitecture. So there's this post. There was another one that got fused in as well down here. I think this, yeah. Update on the server code redesign. And so people are asking the same thing. And so, yeah, basically like a couple weeks ago in October, there was no updates. And so my point with bringing this up is they were going to give us periodic updates on this ReArchitecture, and they were going to let us know how things were going. Everybody, if you go and read my comment section on the video that I did, everybody understands that this is going to take time. And people appreciated this initial article, and they wanted they were looking forward to the feedback. Now, the two things that stand out to me, like I said, is the periodic updates and this taking up much of 2022. As you can see, we are a couple of weeks from December, and we have gotten one update, which is we don't have any updates. And so I went and looked a little bit further, and Gina Bruno comments, and she writes, one of our main priorities right now is upgrading the remaining server hardware, which is still ongoing and on track. We'll have an update on the timeline before the end of the year. Okay, so before the end of the year, we'll have an update. We have also been working on the ReArchitecture we originally mentioned earlier this year. It's worth noting this isn't a single item that will go into an individual update, but contains many smaller pieces that will be released over multiple updates starting next year. So, this ReArchitecture that Matt Firor said in January that was going to take up much of 2022 will actually begin to be implemented in 2023, and it will be implemented slowly over the course of next year. So we figured this out November 17th, 3 days ago. So 3 days ago, we got an update stating like, hey, this thing that we said we were going to do that is going to take an entire year, most of the year, is actually not going to start until the year after. And we provided no updates that we said we were going to do. And I had to go and I had to search and find this little blurb in this thread, and it's no official update. It's in a thread. Like, hey, page 2 of this status update on server code redesign. So yeah, I had to go fishing for this in order to find it. It's not an official like, hey, just so you know, like our schedule's been pushed back. This is going to take some time. We encountered some unexpected things that we didn't think we would encounter. It's taking much longer. This is a delicate process. We apologize for this being delayed, but this has to be done right. And so starting in 2023, we will be releasing these item fixes. There you go. There's your official update. We don't need much. We really don't. I don't know. It's just ridiculous that people had to post multiple times just asking, hey, what about this? What about this? And hats off to the community for continuing to hound like this. Like, this is nothing to, like, I just saw that I was tagged in this post and I went back and read it. So I appreciate you guys for the content. I'm more than happy to amplify your guys' voice, because we know how sometimes on the forums, voices don't always get seen or read or whatever. But you guys all did this. Like, this is you guys. So that's awesome. People asking about updates and not stopping until they get updates. And so, yeah, there's a few people in here, they're like, yeah, they provided an update last week. No, they said the original post is they're going to do periodic updates. Periodic. Not one update in 11 months. That says we don't have any updates right now. I don't know. Sometimes when I just see stuff like this where it's like, yeah, periodic updates, and then, players in the community are like, oh yeah, they're updating us. They're updating us. They haven't. I mean, you would expect at least a couple. Even just look what happened with the ReArchitecture. Like when they were trying to get software and they're like, hey, it's taking longer due to the supply chain issues. Nobody complained. I mean, I'm sure a couple people complain because that's how the community works. But by and large, people are like, oh yeah, okay. I mean, that's the news. There's nothing they can do about hardware updates coming in. I have very, very minimal programming experience. And if you go and read my original video back in January, some people said the same thing. Like, this is going to take a while. This is going to take some time. People know, like, you may not know how to program or code or anything like that, but understanding, adjusting the base game, like re-architecturing your server, is going to take time. and it needs to be tested, and it needs to be worked on and made, well, or else it could just be a worse situation than what we're currently in. Everybody understands this. We just want the updates. We want the communication. It doesn't matter if the communication is, hey, this is being pushed back 3 months, it's taking longer. That's an update. That's an update. And yes, some people are going to be upset because the game's been garbage for 3 or 4 years. But my point is you made your bed at this point. Like the players have been talking about this game needing to be improved for the last 3 or 4 years. And whoever decided to wait and do all the cheaper fixes beforehand, multi-threading, all these other sorts of things, and it didn't work, that's the choice. And now it sucks. It sucks for the development team. I don't know who pulled those triggers or pulled those strings and made those decisions, but this has been the same situation for 3 years now. And so whether it's 3 years or 3.5 years at this point, like an update, regardless of what it is better than nothing. It really is. And so, yeah, that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let me know what you're most excited about in 2023, whether it's the hardware update that's coming in March at the earliest, or it's this ReArchitecture that will be starting in 2023 and go throughout the year, which more than likely means like halfway through the year it starts, and like 2024 is hopefully when it finishes. So at this rate, Ashes of Creation will be out before ESO's hardware situation is resolved. Like that's just, and Ashes of Creation won't be out for a couple of years. So yeah, sad state of affairs, in my opinion. But yeah, let me hear yours. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.